The U.S. Secret Service dismantled a massive hidden telecom network across New York as nearly 150 world leaders arrived at the UN.
On September 23, 2025, the U.S. Secret Service made an announcement that should have been front-page news everywhere. They had discovered and dismantled what they called an imminent telecommunications threat, a sophisticated network of devices spread across the New York tri-state area. This wasn't just some random hacking attempt. This was a full-scale infrastructure operation designed to give a foreign power complete control over communications in one of America's most important cities. Let me paint you a picture of what they found. Over 300 SIM servers packed with more than 100,000 active SIM cards, all strategically positioned within a 35-mile radius of UN headquarters. This network could send 30 million text messages per minute. But here's the scary part. This system could have disabled cell phone towers across the entire region, jammed 911 emergency calls, and created a total communications blackout right when the world's leaders were most vulnerable. Secret Service Director Sean Curran said, "The potential for disruption to our country's telecommunications posed by this network of devices cannot be overstated." Think about that. We're talking about the ability to cut off all communication in New York City during the biggest diplomatic event of the year. The Secret Service confirmed that at least one foreign nation was behind this operation, but they won't say which one. So today, we're going to examine the evidence and rank the 5 most likely suspects. And the number 1 suspect will surprise you, but this wasn't some amateur operation. We're talking about a multi-million-dollar investment in sophisticated telecommunications equipment. The level of planning, resources, and technical expertise required suggests this was a state-sponsored operation by a major intelligence service. Think about what it would take to pull this off. You'd need to acquire massive amounts of specialized equipment, establish multiple secure sites across New York without attracting attention, deploy technical personnel capable of maintaining complex infrastructure, and coordinate all of this while avoiding detection by US counterintelligence agencies. So who has the capability, motivation, and audacity to pull this off? Let's start our countdown. Number 5, North Korea. The Hermit Kingdom has pulled off some of the most audacious cyber operations in history. Remember the Sony Pictures hack? That was North Korea. They've stolen hundreds of millions from cryptocurrency exchanges and infiltrated banks worldwide. Their Lazarus Group is considered one of the most sophisticated hacking organizations on the planet. North Korea would have strong motivations for this operation. They're desperate for foreign currency due to sanctions, and the UN General Assembly would be discussing those very sanctions. Having the ability to monitor or disrupt communications could give them significant leverage. But here's why they're only number 5. This type of physical infrastructure operation would be extremely risky for North Korea. They typically prefer cyber attacks from their own borders. Deploying hundreds of servers across the United States would require operational presence that North Korea simply doesn't have. Number 4, Iran. The Islamic Republic has been increasingly aggressive in its intelligence operations, especially since 2020. They've been accused of plotting assassinations and kidnappings on US soil, and their cyber capabilities have grown dramatically. This year, there was a joint international statement condemning Iranian intelligence services for attempts to kill, kidnap, and harass people in Europe and North America. Iran would have compelling reasons to spy on UN proceedings. They're facing crippling sanctions, their nuclear program is under scrutiny, and they're involved in conflicts across the Middle East. The ability to monitor private communications between world leaders discussing Iran policy would be invaluable intelligence. Iran has demonstrated technical capabilities. Their cyber units have successfully targeted US infrastructure before, including attacks on dams, power grids, and financial institutions. But Iran faces the same problem as North Korea, limited operational presence in the United States. Number 3, Russia. Russia's intelligence services, the SVR, GRU, and FSB, are among the world's most sophisticated and have a long history of operations on US soil. They've been targeting American secrets for decades and certainly have the technical expertise for this operation. Russia would be extremely interested in monitoring UN communications, especially given ongoing tensions over Ukraine and sanctions. The ability to intercept private conversations between world leaders about Russia policy would be a massive intelligence coup. Russia has proven capabilities in telecommunications espionage. Remember the 2016 election interference, the SolarWinds hack? Russian intelligence services have repeatedly demonstrated their ability to penetrate American systems and infrastructure. But here's the problem. Russia's operational capacity in the US has been severely degraded. Since 2016, over 100 suspected Russian intelligence officers have been expelled. Their diplomatic missions have been reduced, and US counterintelligence has been specifically focused on Russian activities. Number 2, China. China is the undisputed leader in espionage against the United States. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, there have been 224 documented cases of Chinese espionage in the US since 2000. That's more than all other countries combined. China has both the resources and motivation for this operation. The UN General Assembly would be an intelligence goldmine for Beijing, access to communications from nearly every world leader, discussions about trade, Taiwan, and China's growing international isolation. And they've done this before. Look at the recent Salt Typhoon campaign where Chinese hackers infiltrated multiple US telecommunications companies. China's Ministry of State Security has repeatedly targeted US telecom infrastructure, and they have the technical sophistication to pull off an operation like this. China also has the operational presence in the United States to support such an operation. They have thousands of students, researchers, and business people who could potentially provide logistical support. The scale and sophistication of the New York network fits perfectly with China's approach to espionage. But there's one country that edges out China for the top spot. Number 1, Israel. Yes, America's closest Middle East ally. And before you dismiss this, let me give you the documented facts. In 2019, Politico reported that the US government had concluded Israel was most likely behind surveillance devices near the White House. These were Stingray devices, the exact same technology that could be used in the New York network. But this isn't speculation, this is documented fact. But that's just the most recent incident. Israel has a long history of espionage operations on US soil. The Jonathan Pollard case in the 1980s, where an Israeli spy stole massive amounts of classified military information. The Numek affair, where hundreds of pounds of weapons-grade uranium mysteriously disappeared. The Arnon Milchan case, where a Hollywood producer operated as an Israeli agent for decades. US counterintelligence officials consistently rank Israeli espionage among the most active on American soil, right alongside China and Russia. Despite a 1951 agreement between the CIA and Mossad not to spy on each other, Israeli intelligence operations in the US have never stopped. But why would an ally do this? Israel has unique motivations. The UN General Assembly is where Israel's enemies gather to discuss Palestinian statehood and Iran's nuclear program. For Israel's intelligence services, this would be the ultimate opportunity, monitoring communications of adversaries like Iran, while understanding the true positions of allies on Middle East issues. Israel also has the technical expertise. They created Stuxnet, the most sophisticated cyber weapon ever deployed. They developed advanced spyware through companies like NSO Group. Their intelligence unit 8200 is considered among the world's elite cyber warfare organizations. The sophistication of the New York network, the professional infrastructure, the strategic positioning within 35 miles of UN headquarters, the timing during the General Assembly, it all fits Israel's operational profile perfectly. And here's the most telling factor. Israel has a history of getting away with it. The 2019 White House incident, no public retaliation, the Pollard case. He was eventually released and celebrated as a hero in Israel. Israel's special relationship with the United States has provided protection against serious consequences. There's also a crucial operational advantage. Unlike China or Russia, Israel doesn't face the same level of counterintelligence scrutiny in the United States. Israeli officials and technical experts can move freely throughout American society, making it significantly easier to establish and maintain complex infrastructure. This incident highlights a broader trend in modern espionage. We're no longer dealing with classic spy scenarios. Today's intelligence operations target the invisible infrastructure that powers our digital lives. Telecommunications networks, financial systems, power grids. These are the new battlefields. The timing is particularly significant. The UN General Assembly brings together leaders making decisions about wars, sanctions, and alliances. Having the ability to monitor their private communications would provide unprecedented intelligence advantage. The discovery of this network represents a fundamental breach of American sovereignty. But if it is Israel, it raises profound questions about alliance limits. How many times can an ally spy on you before they stop being an ally? What do you think? Which country do you believe was behind this massive spy network? And should there be consequences, even if it's an ally? Let me know in the comments below and subscribe for more deep dives into international espionage. Consider the implications if this network had remained undetected. A foreign power could have potentially influenced international negotiations by knowing exactly what each country's bottom line was before they entered the room. They could have disrupted communications at critical moments to create chaos and confusion. They could have gathered intelligence that would give them massive advantages in trade negotiations, military planning, or diplomatic initiatives. The fact that this network was discovered at all is remarkable. It suggests that US counterintelligence capabilities are more sophisticated than many people realize. But it also raises troubling questions about how many similar operations might be running undetected across the country right now. This is the new reality of international relations in the digital age. Every nation with serious intelligence capabilities is likely running operations like this, targeting not just their enemies, but their allies as well. The question isn't whether countries are spying on each other, it's how far they're willing to go and what the consequences should be when they're caught. The discovery in New York represents just the tip of the iceberg. Intelligence experts believe that similar networks are probably operating in Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and other major cities where important international events take place. The challenge for counterintelligence agencies is that these operations are becoming increasingly sophisticated and harder to detect. What makes this case particularly concerning is the scale and ambition of the operation. This wasn't a small-scale intelligence-gathering effort. This was infrastructure capable of paralyzing an entire metropolitan area. It represents a new level of aggression in the shadow war between nations. If this kind of deep dive into the hidden world of international espionage is your thing, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the algorithm show this to more people who are interested in geopolitics and intelligence analysis. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve on stories like this, that the mainstream media barely covers, subscribe and ring that notification bell. I've got more investigations coming that will blow your mind about what's really happening in the shadow war between nations. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and remember, the most important battles of our time are being fought in places you'll never see, by people you'll never know, for control of a world that's more connected and more vulnerable than ever before.